Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mastering Runeterra Squadcast. I'm Monty, and tonight I'm joined by DaTankBuster, CardGamer, and Shadawx. Gentlemen, it's been a minute since I've been around. I know you guys recorded last week, but how's everybody doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, doing all right. Trying to figure out where everything's headed. I don't know. The game, it feels like it's in an interesting spot. It feels like there's a lot of really good things, but also like everything kind of sucks and has like a bunch of losing matchups. So it's interesting. Curious what your guys' take on everything is.
I like to call it Meta-Limbo, because there's a lot of good stuff, but like you said, CardGamer, nothing is really too broken by the looks of it, so it's a good spot for the game to be in. I'm actually enjoying playing for the first time in a good while. I've been playing the Gauntlet pretty frequently, and at least when I get the time. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Fizz Samira myself. It's been interesting to see that deck go through multiple iterations in such a short time span. I've seen like 3 or 4 different versions of it pop up, going from very heavy tempo forward to very much combo based. So I'm very curious to see where that list ends up in its final refined iteration, or if it ends up being that there's 2 completely separate lists brought for different purposes in a tournament lineup, because I could definitely see that happening as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the main 2 Samira variants are like monkeys and no monkeys, right? I haven't messed around too much with either, but I was curious, for people who have been playing Fizz Samira, like how do the 2 lists compare? Because from my perspective, as the opponent, I'll see like the Pandemonium played, and I'll be incredibly sad, and I'll be like, this card's broken. But I assume that it will just sit in your hand and brick up your hand when I don't see it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it depends a lot on how many you run, right? And it also depends on what decks you're playing, because I think the most important thing the Pandemonium is doing generally is it tends to be better in your bad matchups. So
yeah,
like as the meta has evolved to like exist around Samira Fizz, like Pandemonium's become more appealing.
Mm-hmm. Getting vulnerable on all your opponent's units and letting your actual threats get through, and just having the access to burn is like really important, because sometimes 2 Pandemoniums is just 12 damage and your opponent can't do anything about it.
I was gonna say, it's just like deal 6 most of the time. It's just Fiery Confluence, like.
Yeah. I played both versions of the list now. I like the combo version more, but I'm also a big fan of the Pandemonium. I really don't like 1-drops in the deck, but I'm starting to think that they might be a necessity. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I also like the Pandemonium in the mirror a bit more. It really does a lot.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm really curious to see what the refined version ends up looking like. And I definitely agree with what you were saying, Monty, which is, like, maybe they're not so different as, like, you're calling them, like, tempo versus combo, but I definitely think there's, like, at least 2 different builds of this that will exist for, like, different lineup purposes, depending on, like, if you want to play into the mirror or not, or, like, depending how much you care about, like, being good into bad matchups, and stuff like that, so.
Mm-hmm. We were talking a little bit before about how the meta kind of has cycled around Samira Fizz a lot, with Set Karma popping up to kind of dunk on it, or at least attempt to, and then Demacia popping up to dunk on that, and then Ash, and now back to
so
Fizz. So
yeah, since last week, the meta's definitely cycled some. So like, I guess the story of like how the meta evolved, right, is like you had Fizz Samira existing and being a menace, which like we definitely covered last week. And like I think Set Karma existed and like people were messing with some stuff, but from there, like what really sprung out of that is like that deck being so powerful and so popular. PZ Control came to try and beat it. Set Karma and like the Jack Seraphine deck and different Caitlyn variants like Noxus and SI. And all of these decks, they play things like Riff, Mystic, Aftershock, Hexsplit, just all of these tools to make it really difficult to like stick your threats as Fizz Samira. But because like all of these decks came into the meta to beat Fizz Samira, Demacia became really good because this damage-based removal is like pretty bad into tough and well-statted units. And then these like well-statted units are really bad into freezes, so we have like Ash LeBlanc and Varus becoming popular. And now we're kind of like Monty, I think you said it at the beginning of this podcast and not before. We found ourselves in this Meta-Limbo right now. We're kind of trying to figure out where we're supposed to go before like all these big tournaments coming up.
Yeah. I definitely have a few of those with the Master Runeterra open this weekend. I think it's on the 8th.
That sounds right.
Yep.
I think that's right. Yep, that's Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You guys should all be sure to go sign up for that. I guess the day after this video releases. And then Aegis is coming up in the near future. I think it starts at the end of the month.
21st or 28th?
Yeah, around there.
Okay.
Yeah, one of those Fridays.
A lot of big things happening in the world of competitive Runeterra right now. I'm personally very excited for Aegis. I know a couple of us have had some mix-ups with their teams. I have decided to team up with Swiffer, Donut, and Jansports this time around. We are Team Random Object Names, or Tron. Because Jansports and Donut have always been teams with random object names, like Stromboli or whatever. I thought it was funny.
Des Moines is my favorite random object, actually.
Yeah.
True.
Then I think I've always been on a team with Prodigy, who hasn't been on the podcast in a minute, but decided to make a more MR team, so teaming up with Kever and Santa, so that should be fun.
Nice. Shadawx, you're doing something different, right? Beautiful Gamers is no more.
Yeah. I am now back on the Wombats team with Seku, Milk, and Beast Llama. So we'll see how that goes this time.
Yeah, I'm actually not playing this time around.
Oh,
yeah,
That's too
so
easy.
no. We have an RPG team, and I'm still gonna be a bit involved. But there was like 6 or 7 people who were interested in playing on RPG, and there were like 3 people who really wanted to play. And then like 2 or like 3 or 4 of us who were a little bit more indifferent. So we kind of just split it up based on that. And what I will say is everyone from the winning team will be like involved somewhat. Like we're still gonna help out, but not all of that team is gonna be playing, including me. I'm gonna be like taking more of like a prep type role, but it'll be cool seeing Aegis play out.
I'm really looking forward to it this time around. I'm always looking forward to Aegis. It's probably the best competitive experience we have. It's good to see that they're adapting to Riot's new emphasis on tournaments and how Riot has claimed that they want to be able to support grassroots stuff. I know part of the reason why they're experimenting with these shorter leagues is so that way they can feed into that when it does go live, when it does happen. Which is cool.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Aegis is just like, it's a really cool event. Not only because it's like one of the only team events, but it's also just, I feel like almost every Aegis, some players that weren't recognized before get to be recognized because it's an event that goes on for like multiple weeks, and it starts to showcase some different skills that aren't tested normally in like traditional tournaments. So I think it's a really, it's like one, just fun to play, and 2, like it's a cool opportunity to showcase your skills in non-traditional ways.
Mm-hmm.
So in other Runeterra news, we've had some ladder drama. How do you guys, what do you guys think about the MMR stuff?
It's interesting.
Yeah. So for people who are unaware, uh, since there were a lot of complaining going on for like the longest time, including like here, I think we've all like done it at some point about like the plus 15 minus 25 that was like really rampant in Masters ladder, especially in like America and Europe. Um, there's a lot of like contention about this. It didn't feel very good to play in. And there was also some issues with like APAC doing the reverse for a while, where it's just like plus 25 minus 15, and like there was an infinite LP glitch. People were just like at like 10,000 LP in APAC for funsies. So in order to combat all of that, Riot implemented this new MMR system, which scales from 28 to 15, and it's supposed to give you the same amount of MMR as your opponent lost, or your opponent would gain the same amount of MMR as it takes from you. So LP based on your MMR differences. So it's supposed to be this very fair system, but the way it seems like it's playing out, and we can't know for certain, it's just like observations based on like the LP changes we've seen, is it seems like people who have had consistently really high win rates and really good MMR, as soon as they get into Masters ladder, because they've historically won so much, their MMR is almost higher than everyone, so they are just always getting this plus 15 minus 28, even when they're at like 0 LP, like bottom of Masters ladder. And on the flip side, people who are like 50%-ish type win rate players, these players get favorable gains very, very high up into the ladder. So like one of the big like points of complaints and like the things people are pointing to on Twitter is there's a lot of players that have win rates that normally wouldn't get like front page rank 1 that have been getting like up here, which is kind of where a lot of the contention comes in, because it at least appears that if you are someone that has a lower win rate, then the system will be favorable to you for a longer period of time, or will maybe be favorable to you, whereas like a higher win rate player won't be favorable to at all. So that's kind of the drama, if people want to give their take now, to fill like the non-terminally Runeterra Twitter online people in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's confirmed, at least from what I've seen, but if that is how it works, then that is definitely problematic. Now, I may have been inadvertently made some good decisions by queuing a shit ton of Rise, and just losing a ton at the beginning of this season, and may have actually gotten some good LP gains because of it. But if that is the case, that is not something that should be in the game. That is for sure. Especially with Worlds points being on the line.
So I'm pretty confident the system is working as they intend right now. And like I'm pretty confident that if they had done a soft MMR reset, so the same way Masters players are reduced to Diamond or to Platinum at the end of every season, they should be taking the MMR down to the equivalent of whatever D4 is, right? Every person who's in Masters at the end of the season should have their MMR set to D4 plus minus maybe 100 or 50 or whatever their metric is. Same with everybody else in every tier below. They should be reset to a flat MMR tier of the same rank, so that way each season everybody starts anew and this system is calibrated properly. It doesn't seem like they did that when they put this system into place, because as CardGamer said, all these grinders who have had consistent, strong performances in the past are failing to get any sort of boon whatsoever, even when they've just entered Masters at the point where they should still be at least at the average MMR, right? I know I was talking to Yang earlier, and I think he said the most he's gotten is plus 18 ever. And that was like maybe 2 games. So it's not that it's broken, it's that it's uncalibrated. And I think that if they had just done this soft reset like they should have, it would be fine, and that we wouldn't be seeing issues. I think this idea of it's not good for the game is a little whack, because this is how every single LP system in every single Riot game works, as well as every other game. Like this is just how ladder systems work, and this is how it should have always worked. But it's definitely not working properly because of calibration issues.
Well, okay, so maybe I'm a little bit confused, but my understanding of how an MMR system would work is, let's say the system would assign you, like, you should be around like 200 LP masters, even if you aren't at 200 LP masters. Then you would get increased MMR gains if you were below that amount, and then you'd get decreased when you're above that amount. That would be my understanding of how normal MMR would work. I'm a little bit confused why, in this case, you would have, like, it would seem to me like if you were a very consistent player and you had a high MMR, you should be rewarded for that by the system trying to get you to that higher rank that it deems you worthy of, right?
MMR systems are always based off of your rank and your opponent's rank in the exchange, right? If your opponent has a lower rank than you, you're going to lose more points to them, and they're going to gain more points from beating you. It's just how it works. It's like, there is that level of floor and whatever, but that's more used when the system is reset, like I was saying. I don't think it matters so much. I think it matters more when we're going in like League, where gold, silver, platinum, whatever matters. That's why you can have gold players playing against people in like Plat 1, right? Like, I know that's something that I've experienced when I played League a lot. I was grinding for a long time, and then as I was climbing up, I hit gold 1, and I kind of peaked out at my promos, but my MMR kept going up, so I was getting into games with better and better players. The same kind of thing happens in the lower ranks here as well, but I don't think MMR is as relevant at that point in Legends of Runeterra, simply because the system isn't dense enough, there aren't enough players, and it hasn't been around long enough. I lost myself in my tangent.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, right? Where, like, the players you're playing into definitely does affect how your gains are supposed to be factored. Like, if you beat someone you're not supposed to beat, you should obviously get rewarded more for that. And if you lose to someone you're not supposed to lose to, it makes sense to lose a bit more. But at least from my entire understanding of how the League MMR system is supposed to work, is like, it is fundamentally trying to do what Tank is saying, which is it's trying to push you to the rank you're supposed to be. And one of my other understandings is, like, part of the reason, and like Riot has had issues with like their LP gains and MMR before in other games too. Like, I remember before I stopped playing League for like Runeterra, pretty much there was a big issue with LP gains in League at the time too. And if I remember correctly, the issue at the time was like they inflated a bunch of people's ranks, so your actual rank for almost everyone was above their MMR. So almost everyone's like LP gains were really shot because everyone was like pretty much above where they were supposed to be. So like I don't know if that's like, I don't know what the issue is, right? But like yeah, kind of again to what Monty was saying, is like a lot of the times the system isn't entirely broken, it's just not working as intended, right? Like the intention is supposed to be like good, right? Like the idea that good players shouldn't just be able to like go infinite super easily as like it becomes easier to get into masters, which is like something they've tried to do to make the game feel more accessible. And that seems like a good idea, but it also seems like the way it's being played out right now is not very like ideal, especially considering there's worlds points on the line for ladder. Because I think also when there's not worlds points on the line for ladder, like a lot of these issues are just like not that big of a deal. But that's my take, at least.
Yeah, especially with MMR being a hidden value assigned to each player, it's hard to like diagnose exactly what the issue is, right? Like sometimes you're playing against, rank 1 and then you're rank like, I don't know, 300 and then you only gain 15. Is it something that's broken, or is the rank 1 player just actually like that bad and you're that good that you only get that much from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, what I also will say is I was doing a lot of climbing earlier today. I know Monty said there is some sort of streak bonus, which I'm not. I feel like I've experienced before. Of when I'm winning a lot, I start winning more points. But I got like plus 25 off of somebody who was lower LP than me, I think, at one point. So
Yeah,
I
like
don't think
I'm
I'm
pretty
not
things
sure
like
that
that
was
too,
Cup.
right?
I heard him complain after that game about how he got like minus 25 from you, even though you were above him.
I just straight up robbed that guy. No,
Yeah.
I know I was getting at like the very least like around an average of 20 points a game. Because I won 15 in a row and I went from 0 to 300. So I don't know. Maybe I was blessed by the system for my Rise service,
Yeah.
I guess.
Rewarded for playing Rise PNZ.
Dude, I was struggling for so long. Man, you know when you're struggling to like climb in Diamond as like somebody who typically frequents like top of the ladder, that you should be playing a different deck. That's the takeaway.
It's a reasonable take.
Yeah.
I actually climbed to Masters pretty fast this season. Comparatively, anyways. Because I've been, like, real slow the last few. But I think I got there by Saturday. My win rate was a little gross. Fizz Samira is not an okay deck.
What did you... Oh, okay, I was going to ask what you ended up playing.
Fizz Samira is not an okay deck. That deck is really not okay. I know you guys beat it to death last week, but, like, that deck ignores the average turn system, and it's unreal. Like...
Yeah.
You can just completely disregard the attack token, the defense. Like, it does not matter. You just play cards, you win the game. It's.
Yeah, you always have to be scared of that deck. Like, sometimes they'll go like pass, and I'm just like absolutely terrified on turn 3, and then they pass back, and it's like, what is going on here? It's so impossible to tell what their hand looks like. Because they generally want to play it slow if they're playing it optimally, unless they have a really low to the ground hand.
I mean, even with the really low to the ground hands, they're fine playing slow generally because they'll just like play it out so combo-y and like where you can interact favorably. But that's also why like these PZ control decks have risen up to be like good against them, right? Because it's like you have like Jack Seraphine, which is just like BB Riff is just going to like outgrow almost anything like that Fizz Samira can do. You have this Karma deck where they definitely have a hard time in like the mid game and like the mid to late game, like the like pretty much like after the first few turns and before turn 10, but like this Fizz Samira deck isn't allowed to do the thing it is allowed to do versus a lot of other control decks where it just says like, okay, cool, you do your thing, I'm just gonna wait till I have my perfect hand and then like fork you. Because the Karma deck says like, oh, cool, I have unlimited mana, like, play late game with me. I'd love to. And then there's like the Caitlyn decks where they just put a million flash bombs in your deck, and it's like so hard to develop anything. And then like the turn you try and develop stuff, you have to like try and do everything in one turn because they have flash bombs in your deck, and they hold up removal on that turn, so it becomes hard like that. So like there's definitely ways to beat it, right? But like I do agree with what you're saying. I think like pound for pound, it's by far doing the most powerful thing in the meta. I was like talking to my team a little bit about this earlier. It's just like every deck feels like it's kind of bad, and then Fizz Samira, like the entire meta exists around it, so it's not allowed to feel as broken as it actually is. And I do think it is like the only deck that actually feels really good to play. But again, when the entire meta is trying to beat you, even though it's not that successful at beating it, Fizz Samira still is like a pretty high win rate deck with a lot of good matchups. Like, there's a lot of suspect things you have to play into. So,
yeah, I've been playing a lot of Jack Sarah, and what's really funny is they don't have a way of killing your keg, except for Swindle. So sometimes what you'll have to do is you'll just have to dump all the removal out of your hand in one turn, like before you riff, to try and clear their board. So I'll just be like shooting like this one guy like 7 times, and then I'll play riff. It's just like, nope, you cannot kill my keg. It's pretty funny. But yeah. And
Yeah,
also,
I kept running into that matchup, so I was wondering if there was something I could add to the deck to like help me deal with a keg, and I just decided that it wasn't worth it.
yeah. Another interesting thing that's cropped up in the meta that I'm not sure if you guys want to talk about is Ashe LeBlanc. That deck is really funny. I think it's just so funny that Elixir of Iron and like Here to Help are being played. I don't know why. It's just typically such bad cards.
I mean, Troll Chant's gone, so...
Look, we brought Here to Help to Aegis last season, okay? Don't hate. Look, Here to Help, underrated. That card is not bad. But yeah, Ashe LeBlanc is a very funny deck. It's just like randomly really good now because like Flock isn't in the game, Reach isn't in the game. Every deck is allergic to 5 attack units right now. And then like people are trying to play Demacia to beat PNZ stuff. It's like, yeah, Ashe LeBlanc sounds pretty good. Like Ashe LeBlanc is even like, I was looking at the stats earlier. Like Ashe LeBlanc was like winning against Fizz Samira because like you go to 7, you play like Reckoning on turn 5, and then they can never push damage for the rest of the game, and you draw your entire deck. Like, cool.
Yeah, the deck is on 3 Reckoning right now, which is kind of wild, but nothing to deal with it. So, hey, I love Ashe LeBlanc. I've always liked it. It was actually the first deck I built after rotation on patch day. I threw a list together and I played that in casual before ranked went live. So I'm really hoping that the deck is actually good because I would like to play it.
It's crazy that after all the buffs, the only thing it really took to make Ashe LeBlanc viable was removing 400 cards from the game.
If you want to hear the different decks I made Rise, and then I made Rise, and I made Rise, and I made Rise. I played like Bilgewater Rise, I played PNZ Rise, I played Shurima Rise. We were getting into some real
what a shame
stuff.
You can't bring 9 times Rise into a lineup, huh?
Yeah, I would. I would.
Yeah, I made my climb with Elites and Thralls. It was pretty fun.
Oh.
Thralls?
Yeah, Thralls are alright. They're not bad. They do stuff.
I haven't seen the Thralls yet.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to play some Thralls. It was, like, they do things, but, like, it was not great. Randomly, you just, like, beat Demacia now, though, because, like, you just, like, make an 8/8 and, like, a 5/5 on turn 5. And then you, like, hold Deny and, like, Sands of Time for when they try and do things after that.
Yeah, Sands of Time is still a funny card.
Yeah, but, like, yeah, Thralls is interesting. It's really fun to play Thralls with Rockbear Shepherd, but, like, I don't think it's a strong
Oh, you
enough
play
deck to
Rockbear.
really be a viable choice. I think Rockbear is good. Right now.
I don't know. It was tough. I wanted to put it in, but I ended up not. I just went with, like, I played Ancient Prep, and then the rest of it was, like, standard stuff.
Mm-hmm. I just think he has to make up for, like, the fact you lost Imagined. Pretty much.
Yeah, Imagined was the big hit. And I guess Ravine, sort of.
Yeah. Ravine is
Ravine got rotated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yep.
Yeah. Avalanche
I
is
have
still
been
a hell
playing
of a card,
around
though.
Ravine a lot, I'm not gonna lie.
It's okay.
When
When rotation first started, I kept like playing into Nopify and saying it's rotated. This thing doesn't exist anymore. And nobody had it for like days. And finally I got hit by it and I'm like, oh, this is still in the game.
That's funny.
Did you call a judge when they notified you?
Yeah, I was like, I had to check what mode I was in. I was like, okay, this is standard still. Okay. I don't understand what's going on.
I still have no idea what's on the rotation list, and I casted a tournament last weekend.
As long as you know the important cards, that's all that matters, you know?
Yeah, I know Thermo's gone.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's actually something I also play around because I go one drop and I'm like, if they have it from my Fizz, I got warning shot.
See, I was playing around it, but I was in a call with somebody and I was like, is Thermo still in the game? And they were like, no. I was like, oh, okay, good to know. Noted.
Yeah.
Then I stopped.
I was
I played
feeling
around
pretty
it.
good about like remembering what cards were rotated, and then Ash LeBlanc came meta, and I was playing around Troll Chant and Culling Strike, and then I found out like after 2 games.
Yeah, the only reason I remember Culling is gone is because the new Culling came out for Shadow Isles.
Dude, that card is crazy. That
It's a
is
really good card.
Good.
I haven't seen it played yet.
It's just
Well,
like
it kills
2
Mirai.
mana, kill Mirai, like 2 mana,
Yeah.
kill Inferna. It's like 2
True.
mana, kill Battlesmith, and like now your Elites matchup is playable. It's pretty neat.
That is neat. Yeah, having a way to kill that thing on turn 2 is pretty important for these matchups.
Well, just having like another one besides Quietus, like the fact that you're on like 4 to 6 of that effect now, just like makes that matchup so much more playable. Of like any SI deck into Demacia.
Yeah, I mean, like almost every deck except like Karma Set has a really good target for it, right? I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I think so. Like, what
I
does
mean,
Karma Set? Does Karma Set have anything at all? Or I guess the 3/3.
Yeah,
And some
like
of them play the
Karma-
elusive.
Yeah, like Karma Set is gonna be fine. Like you're going to trade with something like at least like in value, right? Like it's going to kill a Clockling or like a coin generator.
Yeah.
Even if it's the units that like make coin on ETB, like it's technically you're coming out in mana, or like coming out ahead in mana. And it's even not awful when it kills a champ. Like it feels kind of bad to use it to kill a champ because it's 4 mana instead of 2, but like a lot of champs you're using it on are champs that are just like you would have gone like 3 mana plus or 4 mana plus spending vengeance on, so going like 1 or 2 isn't that bad comparatively.
Very true. Are there any other standout cards from the new set?
All
out.
Clockling.
Clockling.
Clockling is the best card.
Clockling is great. The Samira package, I think, is known. Oh, Smooth Mixologist is one of the most underrated cards from the new set.
Yeah.
That's a really good card too. I still think
is a good
Clockling is going to be the best card in this set. The most
Probably.
underrated best card in the set in the future.
I think people
Once they get rid of Samira.
Clockling. I feel like people understand Clockling's really good though.
It's one of those cards that kind of goes under the radar a little bit. It's like very quietly good. The same way Tough is very quietly a broken keyword.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think anybody was like screaming about how good Zap is, but like it's just a staple, and I think that's where Clockling is going to end up as well.
Yeah, Clockling
Better.
I think is notably better in
Yes.
most things because like one, it just has like this random like combo potential where you can like tempo really powerful things, and 2, I think that effect is generally better in PNZ. But like Zap did do some really, really gross things in certain decks where like you really like that synergy point. Like the fact that he just drew like specific cards in Pirates, yeah, or like specific cards
Go
in
hard.
Nami was really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Also-
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, another thing I wasn't expecting to see surface is a lot of Demacia Freljord decks that I don't instantly beat. Like, I don't know, so some of these Demacia Freljord decks are actually kind of scaring me.
Like
Bro.
what?
No,
I
okay,
don't know.
It leads.
Look,
I love
maybe
the-
you guys haven't learned this yet. Maybe you guys don't hang out with enough spell players, but like all spell players, they just have nightmares about Galio. They wake up screaming about Galio, and it's the funniest thing. This bro's about to talk about Freljord Galio, just wasn't it?
Yeah, okay, I did get my ass beat by Freljord Galio a couple times, but also like there was like elites with like Freljord Splash that seemed pretty decent as well. But I mean that's just elites being good. Maybe it wasn't as prevalent in my match history as I thought it was. But
You just lost one time and you got scarred for life.
I was like, I
The
lost to
nightmares about
Demacia
Galio.
Freljord? How is this allowed to happen? I feel
I
like
did
that's one
bring
of the
it to a
worst
tournament last
spell
Sunday.
plays.
And it felt pretty okay.
You did pretty well in that tournament.
Yeah, surprisingly, right?
Quarter?
Even
think
though
you
I
went
was
to
having
quarter.
fun.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
You're
What did I bring? I brought like Udyr Galio and like
Marauders.
something Marauders and like Evolution, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. That 3-drop in Galio, the Petricite Hound or something. Anyways, that was kind of cool.
Spell damage.
Yeah, the one that can't take spell damage. That card's so funny.
Oh, what I will say is I did try and play Conservatory. I think it was sorry. I was playing against Conservatory, but I tried playing Formidables last patch, and I just drew all 3 Petricite Hounds, and my opponent couldn't play any cards. I just kept on swinging into them, and they were just like kept on sad borrowing. It's just that card just beats some decks, which is pretty funny.
That's what I'm talking about. These are like the things spell players are like they fear.
Yeah.
Put fear in the hearts of men.
Yeah. You ever play like a Petricite? You ever like pass down an important turn against like a spell player as a Demacia deck and then play Petricite Pillar and then like go about taking your turn?
Pillar's still here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
Even better than that, you mentioned Thralls earlier. Some of the best feelings is like, I don't know if you've ever done this, Shadawx, but like when you do your Thralls thing and you're like going in, and you have like the instant sentry for like whatever reason, like to use to like make a landmark. Have you ever like made the pillar off of it like burst speed and you still have like deny backup? And your opponent just like can't play the game anymore?
No.
I've done that one. It's pretty good.
Yeah, when the pillar wins you a game off an instant sentry, it feels real fucking good.
Not gonna lie, I really want somebody to play Shelly, and then I just play Pillar on them. That seems like the funniest thing.
Man, I can't wait for this episode to come out so we can like embrace the Pillar meta.
It's actually such an insane like
the Pillar men are coming.
It's really it's really hard to like make the card like enable the card properly, but like when you can make the card work, it's just like so insane because it's just like it stops your opponent from like interacting for 2 turns against like proper decks, and like a lot of these decks into like these board-based decks kind of need to like take weird passes and sometimes even pass exploitatively in these like mid-game turns. So if you just like take one of these passes where you burn a bit of mana and then you like play this card, it's like, what do? They roll over. Like,
what do you guys think of Green Scouts? I didn't expect Shadow Isle Scouts to pop up.
Oh, yeah,
like the hollow deck?
Yeah.
Oh.
It
Yeah,
just like
good.
loses to itself most of the time. I feel like is its biggest issue. You just have like a lot of these hands that are like a bunch of tricks or a bunch of cataclysms or like only like landmarks and 1-drops. When your threat density lines up properly and you have like your cataclysm, if you need to like interact with key things or your protection, like the deck is absurd. But you know,
yeah, and then like other times you just get your units, but no like hollowed procs or no foyer, and you're just sitting there with like, oh, it's just a normal Quinn. Oh, it's just a normal Gwen. No hollow stacks.
Yeah, I've definitely played some games as Jack Seraphine against that deck where I just like don't block any of their hollowed units early, and they play Gwen and I play Jack, and then they just cry.
Yeah. Although on the flip side, you know, if you get your like your Valor into like Foyer into Gwen into Quinn and stuff like that, then it's like looking real good.
Yeah, the deck is unbeatable, right? Like,
yeah.
I guess I just didn't play it enough to see the wrong side of variance with that one because it was looking pretty good to me. Yeah, this is another interesting one that popped up. I imagine that there are going to be a lot more decks popping up over the next couple days, especially with Aegis coming up next week or in a week and a half or whatever, and with the Runeterra tournament on the weekend.
Yeah, another funny deck is the Mono-Renekton deck, which is I played a bit of and it was quite fun. I wasn't having too much success with it, but it seems like that deck could also be pretty polarized and good in a tournament meta.
Yeah,
I don't
draw
know.
Renekton.
You need to do a very specific thing, but
You have 6 Renekton. You
Yeah.
played the Legion's card. They left it in the
Yeah, you
game.
play 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, sometimes you
Mono-Renekton.
just play like Chamber of Renewal. You play your 4 drop, and then you just jam like an 8, like 7 Renekton with Spell Shield, and your opponent's like, huh, what am I supposed to do about this?
Mono-Renekton is just the new Lee Sin, and you can't convince me otherwise, okay?
Yeah. That will make certain people very upset.
Yeah. Every Ionia player fuming at me right now.
Yeah, Kevin will like scalp you for saying that.
I mean, look, they challenged big overwhelm threat, like Shurima, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, Lee Sin is basically Curse of the Doomed, right?
Yeah,
If you
basically,
think
right?
about it.
Actually, Renekton and Curse of the Tomb are better because you can stack them.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
There's like really nothing interesting on the stats pages.
Dude,
No,
Aatrox-Vayne
it's still the
is just
usual.
like the best deck apparently according to the stats pages, which is cool. I'm happy to live in the Aatrox-Vayne meta. But yeah, I think that's like the only other super interesting thing going around in stats. But like it makes sense that Aatrox-Vayne is good because like you have the tools to have like a solid matchup against Fizz Samira, and you have the tools to have solid matchups against these PNZ decks. So
It was also
it's just like the free
completely
stuff
untouched,
just
right? By rotation.
Yeah, it just got hit. Like all of those times, Aatrox got hit through like the World Ender patch cycle, and like Vayne got hit through like whatever patch cycle was before World Ender and that World Ender patch cycle.
So, and like since it was untouched by rotation, people already knew, oh, this normal build still works, and it was good before, so try it out now, right?
Yeah, it's changed just a tad, but it's like pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like 35 of the same cards.
Yeah.
And you're just like changing things out to like better fit with how they nerfed Aatrox and to play things like Badger Bear and like form up now. So it's like really natural changes.
Apparently, Samira Varus Riven has the highest win rate on Lore Master right now.
Oh, I've run into that a couple of times. It's an interesting deck.
Yeah. I mean, it makes some sense, right? We were talking about, like, Samira package. It's one of the best things in the game. Freeze is good against Demacia.
Actually, this list isn't playing Freeze.
Oh, we're just killing them. That's based.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've reached that point where people are starting to finally get tired of, why do I play Samira here? Why don't I play Samira with these others cool things? Like, there's going to be Samira Renekton, I'm sure. I'm sure there's going to be Samira Varus. What else? What's next?
Ooh,
What's
I want to play
next?
Samira Gwen.
Samira Auction.
Yeah, I mean, some of these I think have been tried. Like, I've seen Samira, Renekton, and Gwen and Auction, and I think they've had more issues than, like, Varus had. But, like, Varus Riven has, like, been a niche deck that has, like, almost been good for, like, a while. So the fact that, like, this Samira version is having win rate makes a lot of sense because, like, that Riven card isn't that good. Like, Samira is pretty good, and, like, Riven followers are pretty good. And, like, I think this deck is... It should be playing Riven followers.
Should
I mean,
it's, like, one Riven, but, like, Riven followers, right? Because, like,
Actually,
just the blades are good.
The Challenger?
No. Apparently, the best performing list is playing Cultists. Like, all the Cultist stuff.
Yeah, I mean, CardGamer, what I will say is Riven followers are not great in, like, a Riff meta. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at.
I guess.
Like, everything's 1 health, and you just get, like, obliterated by PC.
Yeah, that's fair. But, like, the blades, like, are very good with Varus and Samira.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's totally fair, that, like, we just can't play them right now in the Rift meta.
True.
All right.
Do
Do you
you guys
guys
feel
want to
about
talk
Flash
about?
I was going to ask about Flash Bomb Peddler. I think it's.
Okay.
I've heard
Oh yeah,
different
that card's
opinions
good.
on that card.
Mm-hmm. Good card.
They finally
I'm
made
a fan.
Caitlyn a champion. That was cool.
Yeah, I thought so. I think Caitlyn's a really cool champion for PNC to have. I like the idea of her traps being board control, and I like the idea of them pushing PNC more towards this board control aspect. Actually, that's something we can talk about. So I know I've been on the record previously about not understanding the purposes behind rotation and like thinking that it was about balance primarily and like not really being comfortable with it. I want to go on the record and say that I like rotation. I'm happy it happened. My worries were unfounded. Also, I understand it now. It's not about balance. It's about them being able to redefine the region identities going forward, so that way they can better balance the game in the future.
Yeah, it's a mix of all that, right? Like future balancing or current balancing, about reshaping identities or champion thematic or whatever. I believe they said they're planning to like redo some champs, right? Like 2.0 versions.
Mhm.
It's yeah, but it's like a mix of everything, right? It's not just rotation is not there just for one certain thing.
Yeah. I think it's just like an important thing to do. And like if you guys haven't seen it, like the information Monty's referring to and talking about, he got from the dev talk, which I think they did like Monday or Tuesday. They did it earlier this week. But yeah, like pretty much the big thing they tried to hammer home on is like rotation is about fixing the region identities and like cleaning up things so like regions are in check with their identities. But while still also keeping like a good build around champion in every region, which is the reason why like things like Akshan stayed. And it makes sense like why they're doing it where it's going. I think like a lot of the things I said last week still hold true with like how things are weird right now with like what some regions are actually supposed to be doing and like how they're allowed to go about doing things. But I do think it's going to like be for the better. And like things are definitely getting like cleaned up because yeah, like one of the things they mentioned is like there was this rule that they like to use, which is like certain regions have certain identities, but champions are allowed to break that identity. So you have a champion doing something it's not supposed to be doing in another region, but then you have this issue where you want champions packages to support the champion, and you want champions to have support in their region. So now you just have all of these regions that aren't supposed to have these certain identities or like options to them where they just have all of these things now, all of these tools they shouldn't have. So you start like having regions that become like almost completely self-sustaining or just doing certain things better than other regions, which can be pretty problematic for game design. So like, clearing all of that out makes sense, but it just kind of leaves a lot of gaps from like things we were used to having in the meta. But it also creates like a lot of interesting things from having those gaps as well. So overall, I think it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess that's... Oh, the Open is next weekend, and this weekend is the Ruthless Rumble. Or starting tomorrow, I guess, is the Ruthless Rumble.
Well, yesterday, when you guys are watching this.
Oh, yeah. Whenever it
The
decides to
time
come
isn't
out.
real.
Yeah. Ooh. But yeah, Ruthless Rumble is a good chance for those to catch people who want to catch up in trophies to get it. Because I think going 5 wins is like 2.5 days worth, right?
Yeah,
25 trophies. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you get another entry token to a Ruthless Rumble again. Because normally
Yeah.
it costs 500 coins or a token, which is like $5, I think.
Something like that. I think you might
Yeah.
also get a token for like 5 wins. I don't think you have to do 6 wins to get your token back, but yeah.
So Ruthless Rumble is only 5 wins. It's first
Oh,
to 5
it might be 4
or
wins
2
to
losses.
get the token back, I think. But yeah.
Yeah. 4 and 5 wins get a token. I just pulled it up here. And then you get 20 trophies for 4 wins, 25 for 5.
It's 5 for each win, right? And 0 if you don't win any. Whereas the Daily Rumble, you
Yeah.
get some for entering.
Yeah.
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 So if you lose it all, you don't get anything. Losers.
Yeah.
Don't lose.
And for
Actually, you get
people
5.
who-
You get 500 shards. Sorry,
Mm.
for getting 0 wins.
And then for people who want their buy before the first tournament, I believe you can only miss 20 trophies. Is that correct?
If you're just doing daily rumbles, but because there's the ruthless rumbles, like there's some more leeway now
Okay.
because
Okay.
you can like get more from this.
Yeah, that's
Makes
100
sense.
extra trophies total because there's
Mhm.
4 days worth.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's first to 5 wins or 2 losses.
Yeah, I'm still curious to see if we can play both the regular gauntlet and the Ruthless Rumble, or if we're going to be limited.
It replaces it.
Uh,
Yeah, I just confirmed it.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. Thanks for confirming, Shadawx.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thanks, APAC.
okay,
Are
well,
the realest ones.
that's probably it from us tonight. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Oh
be
wait,
sure to
I
like,
guess
comment.
before we go, what would you
What?
guys play in the Ruthless Rumble or the
Ooh.
Master Runeterra Open this weekend?
What did I say earlier? Udyr, Galio, Marauders, and I'll find a new third deck.
Based.
Fizz Samira, Ash LeBlanc. I need to find a third Noxus deck.
Yeah. I'd probably play Jack Bar and then whatever else makes sense. I'll look at matchup tables and figure stuff out, but
I don't
Yeah,
want
to-
it to make sense. I just
To
want
be
to
honest,
have fun.
if you just want to win, you could literally just bring like Fizz Samira, like Jack Seraphine, and like Set Karma or something, and you'd be pretty
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm thinking probably Set Karma and Jack Bar, but we'll see.
Yeah. I want to bring Aatrox-Vayne, I think, but I don't know what lineup it's supposed to go in. As far as like cohesive lineups that I know are like doing something good and are good decks, I think I like what Tank was saying, but probably going like Jace Caitlyn or like Caitlyn Heimer third. Maybe Darkness is best third, but I'm a little bit doubtful for the matchup spread you're going for with the first two.
I like JSSI still. I think it's good.
Jace is a pretty good win con with like everything that was rotated. So
Yeah.
alright. But yeah.
Sometimes you just do 17 damage with elbows and call it a
True.
day.
That is
20
true.
damage of Shock Blast, yes sir.
Okie dokie. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. Bye.
That's the show, bye.
Bye.